The Chicago Bulls are like that one girl in high school that you really want to forget, because they're the biggest tease in the world. Everyone was like, they have no shooters, they're not going to be a good team this season, and then they made everybody shut up by being able to shoot, and it seemed like they were a quality two-way team that was going to prove a lot of quote-unquote analysts and experts wrong, as they were one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference in the beginning of the season, and it was coming from pretty much everywhere. I mean, Dwayne Wade was knocking down three-pointers at the best clip that he ever has in his career, and hell, the same thing could be said for Rajon Rondo, who's built a reputation as being someone you can just leave wide open. Even Rajon was dropping stuff down. Also, I can't tell if the name Rajon is the best or worst name in the NBA. And so while those two were surprising people, Jimmy Butler was ascending and has remained one of the best players in the NBA today. 25 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds, efficient from everywhere, on top of being one of the best defensive players in the NBA. I mean, Jimmy, you need to calm down just a little bit, man. Like, from where you went in your rookie season to where you are now, it's like a frickin' my player in 2K. But as the season went along, the rest of the team just wasn't really able to pan out. Rajon Rondo, he's benched at this point for the Bulls, as his outside shooting, or lack of outside shooting, and really just an inability to put the ball in the basket no matter where he is, whether it's 2 feet in front of the basket or 55 feet out. I don't know why you'd shoot it out that far, but bear with me, it's okay. And also not being a quality defensive player anymore, they were just getting nothing out of the point guard position. Rondo's on the bench, and I'd like to think his feelings aren't that hurt. He seems like he's pretty mature about the whole thing. He's cheering for his guys right there, it's okay. They've tried Michael Carter-Williams at the point guard position. I mean, it kind of works out. At least he'll give you the defense, even if the outside shooting is still nothing. Jerian Grant has been something for them. I mean, you know, Jerian, he's a good dude. He watches my videos and all that. Thank you, but I'm not going to have him start at my point guard position. And also in the case of Dwayne Wade, his efficiency has dipped down as the season has progressed as well. But with all that going on, Jimmy Butler has still been awesome. He's one of the best players in the league. He's going to be starting next to Giannis as well as LeBron for the Eastern Conference All-Star starters. And for some frickin' reason, the Bulls still struggle with the idea of him being their best player, which I don't flippin' know, but that's their idea. So now I have a question for you. If you're having problems in your point guard spot because you can't find a real option, and you have a guy like Jimmy Butler who has developed himself into quite a nice playmaker, being someone who doesn't have the ball in his hands all the time, but is still averaging about 5 assists this season, why the hell don't you just play him at point guard? So that's what this video is about. The Chicago Bulls need to move Jimmy Butler to the point guard position, and in my opinion, it could open up a lot of really good things for them. First and foremost, let's just get back to his playmaking. Again, for the season, he's averaging 4.7 assists. In the month of January, he's actually averaging 6. And we have to remember, this is as a guy who is not currently the point guard of this team. They do use him in certain situations there, but a lot of the time he's playing off the ball as a wing player, allowing Michael Carter-Williams, Rajon Rondo, Jerian Grant, or Dwayne Wade to be primary ball handlers. Listen, all the credit in the world to those guys. Jimmy is second on this team in assists behind Rondo, but of course he's considerably better than Rondo. If you just give him the ball and let everybody else get the hell up out of the way, those assist numbers are going to rack up. And here's a little thing for you. He's averaging about 6 assists in the month of January, 5 for the season. His usage rate is 30th in the NBA. He's tied with Dennis frickin' Schroeder. He's being used as much as the Hawks point guard, who's like a nice player, but really, there are not 29 players in the NBA who deserve to have a higher usage rate than Jimmy Butler. So the Bulls need to put the ball in his hand, get him in pick and rolls, allow him to attack off the dribble, and he can find the open guy. He's doing it already as a wing. Just give him the ball more often. The other reason, he's great on defense. And if he is in a situation where he is defending the opposing team's point guard, I mean, how freaking tall is Jimmy Butler? He's like 6'7" and 220 pounds. There's no point guard in the NBA who matches him from a physical standpoint. There's probably one or two that I just forgot off the top of my head, but Jimmy's just great on that side of the floor. And of course, he's probably not going to end up defending the other team's point guard the entire game, but for situations when it makes sense, you can definitely put him on the opposing one, and he can do some damage. And we have to remember, Rajon Rondo being the starting point guard of this team for a good chunk of the season, that's definitely going to hurt your defense when your first line of defense is just not that good. Whereas you upgrade to one of the best in the league, I mean, it actually would be kind of not fair for Jimmy Butler to be able to push around and elbow and shoulder opposing point guards who are often like 6'3", 6'4", at the most. I mean, just picture this one for a second. Say you're an NBA point guard. First off, congratulations, you're making a lot of money, you're living your dream. Kudos. You walk the ball up floor, you ask your big man to give you a screen, and then Jimmy Butler just like hits you in the chest. Now you're like, well crap, I don't really want to attack this guy off the dribble because he's just going to beat me up the entire game, but I have to because I'm this team's primary ball handler. It's a whole swirl of emotions that eventually leads to you crying on the bench. And that's what Jimmy Butler can do. He can make grown men cry by being the point guard of the Chicago Bulls. That was a really weird analogy, but I think I made sense of it in the end. Also, he's going to block Ty Lawson again. So defensively, I think Jimmy can just be great for the Chicago Bulls on top of the playmaking, just being a brick wall at the perimeter, really. Like, good luck getting by him, good luck running your offense when he's in your way. But when we're talking about Jimmy overpowering opposing point guards, we also have to mention how good he is at attacking inside the paint. Like I said before, he shoots 10 free throws a game, so he gets in there like a frickin' crazy person, okay? If you are an opposing point guard and Jimmy Butler is running right at you because you're his assignment, what the hell are you going to do? You're going to stand in his way and allow him to just run you over? I mean, as a defense, you're going to have to put a wing player on him, but that gives the Bulls an advantage, as I'm going to show you a little later on here, because of course, if Jimmy moves to the point, then another wing player has to step up, and just give me a minute, just look at him dunking on the Sacramento Kings. He can also post up on other guards as well, because, again, he's really frickin' big. But on top of that, he's also mean, like on the floor, not off. Off the floor, he's a very nice guy, I know him personally. Apparently, he always pays for the person behind him in the checkout line when he's getting his groceries. Good dude, Jimmy Butler. But on the floor, if you're a little point guard who's trying to defend him in the post, he's going to beat the hell out of you, which is going to force the defense to make adjustments. But now we can also talk about the Chicago Bulls' lack of shooting this season. When someone like Dwayne Wade wants to attack inside, and he's got his point guard who can't shoot, it makes it kind of difficult to really do stuff because they can just provide help defense. And then you're either forced to go up against like 2 or 3 guys as opposed to just like 1 or 2, and it becomes a whole thing. Jimmy Butler is shooting league average from outside this season at 35%, which is good enough to where they can't just leave him wide open when Dwayne Wade is attacking. But now here comes the other step of this thing. They also need to insert Doug McDermott into the starting lineup to replace Jimmy Butler, who would be moving from the small forward spot, because Doug is a knockdown outside shooter for the Chicago Bulls who has shot over 40% from 3 in his NBA career, and he's not too far off this season. Remember when I was talking about earlier how the Bulls were dealing with like Rondo who couldn't shoot from outside, or Michael Carter-Williams, or Jerry Grant, and then Dwayne Wade who can't hit outside as well? If you move Jimmy Butler to the point guard spot, insert Doug McDermott, you got a lot of shooters at that point, man. And you also have one guy who's legit, like, if we leave this dude open, 3 points are going on the board, which Chicago has been drastically looking for this entire season. Now the only guy who's getting the ball a lot who can't shoot is Dwayne Wade. And you can manage it with just one guy, especially one guy who still is a very good scorer and very crafty as well. And all this can happen by just inserting a white dude who averages 7 points a game. Doug McDermott. What an MVP. Now, you could say, yeah, but he sucks on defense. I mean, he's not that great on defense, but again, they're 10th in defensive rating, and Rajon Rondo was starting at point guard the majority of the season. I think they can survive with Dougie fresh at the small forward spot. And even then, like between a point guard, shooting guard, and small forward on an NBA team, typically one of those guys is not going to be too difficult to defend, hopefully, unless you're playing like the Warriors, which in that case, rest in peace. So I think Doug's shooting can do enough for you. So you put Doug McDermott at the small forward spot, you move Jimmy Butler to the point guard spot. Now you have a lot of shooters on the floor. You allow Jimmy Butler to just be a beast and get out of number 30 in terms of usage rate, which is still just ridiculous. And just maybe, the Chicago Bulls can begin to turn this thing around, because as of right now, they're one game under 500, which is just a little bit awkward.